In the opulent palace of Shushan, where golden walls reflected the wealth of the Persian Empire, Queen Vashti reigned as one of the most admired women in the kingdom. Her beauty was renowned, but her intellect and poise made her a beacon among the noble women. She was not merely a queen, she was a symbol of grace and strength. The palace buzzed with activity. King Xerxes had declared a lavish feast that spanned 180 days, a display of his power and glory. Dignitaries from all over the vast empire attended, marveling at the extravagance. Golden goblets overflowing with wine, silk-draped tables laden with exotic delicacies, and musicians playing melodies that wove through the air. It was a celebration unmatched in grandeur. Vashti, however, chose not to join the king's festivities. She hosted her own banquet for the women of the palace, providing them a space where they could share their stories and laughter, away from the shadow of the king's revelry. She saw this gathering as a chance to uplift and inspire, to create a haven of dignity and solidarity. Hosting her own dignified feast for the women of the kingdom, was summoned by the king. His command, spurred by the drunken urgings of his nobles, demanded that she present herself before the men to display her beauty, wearing her royal crown. Some interpretations suggest she was to appear only in her crown, making the request an act of public humiliation. Vashti, valuing her dignity and role as queen, refused. Her refusal was more than personal defiance. It was a rejection of being reduced to an object in a kingdom where women were often mere accessories to male power. Enraged by Vashti's refusal, and his pride stung in front of his guests, Xerxes turned to his advisors. These men, driven by their own ambitions and fears, manipulated the situation. They claimed Vashti's disobedience would inspire rebellion among the women of Persia, threatening the fabric of their patriarchal society. The advisors proposed an irreversible decree. Vashti would be banished from the king's presence, stripped of her royal title, and a new queen would be chosen. What they left unsaid, but likely understood, was that banishment for a queen often equated to death. Under the influence of wine and wounded pride, Xerxes signed the decree. When the celebrations ended and the wine wore off, Xerxes found himself alone. The echoes of the festivities faded, leaving him in a palace devoid of Vashti's presence. Sober now, he reflected on what he had done and felt the weight of his irreversible decree. To compound his regret, the advisors who had urged him to punish Vashti returned to their homes, their wives and families intact. They had exploited the king's vulnerability to further their own agendas, but left him to face the consequences alone. The king's once celebrated strength was now overshadowed by his loneliness and the public perception of his impulsiveness. Without Vashti, the palace lost more than a queen. It lost balance and dignity. Xerxes' decision made him appear weak, easily manipulated by his advisors and his own vices. The empire that once marveled at his power now questioned his judgment. Amid his regret, the search for a new queen began. This was not just a quest for beauty, but an attempt to restore the dignity and stability of the royal court. Hadassah, a young Jewish girl later known as Esther, entered the scene. Unlike Vashti, Esther's wisdom, humility, and faith would allow her to navigate the complexities of palace life, eventually using her influence to protect her people from destruction.